Yeah, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode, another Sunday of Rotoworld Live, served by Applebee's. Oh, what a Sunday it's in store for us, and I guess even an extra game on Monday. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers. Before we get to that, let's introduce these handsome, beautiful faces we have joining us. It is John Daigle.
Do you know our names?
It is Patrick Doherty, and it is Hayden Winks. A little stumble from the gate. That will not slow us down. We'll get started.
Out of the way early. It's okay.
I did. You're certain about that. All right. So we are going to get to all of your questions. That's what this show is for. Be sure to leave them on Twitch if you're watching, on YouTube if you're watching, on Periscope if you're watching. We have Phil helping us out in the comments today. Really appreciate that. And I'll post them up, and then we'll get to all those start sits. I know week 4 is very meaningful for all of you. But before we get there, there's a lot that's happened in the football world in this past week. First, starting off with Pittsburgh and Tennessee, it's being treated like a bye week. So that changes nothing in your fantasy lineups. But Pat, that isn't the case here so far with New England and Kansas City. Right now, the projected start is 7 Eastern on Monday, but leagues are handling this in different ways. If you were in a league, how are you going to handle putting these players in your lineups on Kansas City and the Patriots side or not?
I wish I knew, because I've spent all morning like in a terrifying panic over whether in my main home league I should start Joe Burrow over Patrick Mahomes. But I have a co-manager. He's a CPA. He's a really smart guy, my brother-in-law. He said that he thinks Mahomes is worth the risk. And we were having a debate before the show, should we be worried about this game? Should we not be worried about this game? And I slapped on, I think we all agree, I think there's an 80% chance this game happens.
Agreed.
It's a little worrying that both teams had a positive. It's very good news that both teams were in the clear today. But the fact that we kind of like double dip risk with this game gives me a little bit of pause, where I wouldn't just consider it like 100% certain this game happens. But yeah, the 0 positives today probably puts it on like an 80+% trajectory. But it is tough. I wish I had do any of us have a golden like bullet answer for this? Because I honestly don't know.
Any of you guys?
I mean, you just kind of have to ask yourself your own risk taking, right? I'm starting my Chiefs and Patriots, and I'm in a couple leagues where we don't have alternative options. Like we said, we don't know what's going to happen, but given the results the past 24 hours, I'm fairly confident. I went to bed worried more about Lions, Saints, and it seems like that one's for sure playing this afternoon. Yeah. So I'm actually feeling pretty good, and I would start my Patriots, barring splitting hair decisions.
Hayden, I'm the commissioner in the A League of MC Sports. Daigle's not in that league. He's in the B League. But what I did this morning was send out an email saying, since this is so different than Pittsburgh and Tennessee, the uncertainty levels, we are able to declare a backup. And so if this game is just completely pushed until later in the year, we don't know that right now. So I know it's only about an hour until kickoff, but that's how I'm handling it. So I'm going from Patrick Mahomes with my backup as Ryan Fitzpatrick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Joshua Kelly, so on and so forth.
Yeah, you guys don't know this. All of my friends call me commish because I'm the commissioner of my league. I've been the commissioner forever. I sent out a text this morning saying it's up to you guys. If you guys want to start him and it gets canceled, that's on you, and that's how we're going to do it in our league. I just think that it adds a little more game theory. I think that the couple strategies here. One, you have to move your Tyreek Hills. If you're starting Sammy Watkins, Julian Edelman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, move those guys to your flexes. Buy yourself some time. Also, add guys that are going to be playing on Sunday Night Football and especially Monday Night Football. A perfect example of this: if you have Travis Kelce, go pick up Robert Tonyan. If that game gets canceled, at least you have a fill-in with Robert Tonyan. Some other ones, I think Greg Ward is a great pickup, like regardless. So if you have somebody like that, he's going to be at least playing Sunday night. So if we get word at 4 o'clock today that you can make that pivot, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and then for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, somebody's like Jamal Williams. Like that, it would suck that you'd be starting Jamal Williams, but I think Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's upside is worth taking on that risk. But of course, you move these guys to the flexes. Worst case.
If you are like,
I think you could both hit on good options. If you don't want to hardcore it, say today, make someone say, I'm starting Patrick Mahomes, like declare that they're starting Patrick Mahomes. But if Mahomes, the game doesn't happen, my declared backup is make them declare the backup before the games kick off. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
You're too nice, Josh. That's so much work. I'm just saying that's up to you guys.
If you're in leagues that aren't allowing that, again, desperate options for those 16 and 20 teamers. Mercedes Lewis is doubtful, so Jay Sternberger will play behind Robert Tonyan, and Olamide Zacchaeus, just in case Julio Jones limps off the field with that questionable hamstring injury.
You and half the women I've ever dated have called me too nice, Hayden. So that's not the first time I've heard that. All right. So we have to get to your lineup questions again, get them in. We're going to start nailing them right now. Let's go first to Irvin Mendoza, who's watching us on YouTube. Who should I trust today? Brandon Ayuk, Greg Ward, or Hunter Renfrow? Full point PPR. Thank you. Daigle, this is a great question because we saw Brandon Ayuk have a great week 3. Greg Ward is the number 1 wide receiver for the Eagles. And I know you like Hunter Renfrow in his matchup.
It's still Brandon Ayuk for me, since we now know that Deebo Samuel will be quote unquote on a pitch count this evening. So we expect Ayuk to continue playing over 70% of the snaps as he's done since returning from his hamstring injury. I will be picking him, but I still do like Hunter Renfrow quite a bit today.
Any disagreements there, Pat?
I think I have Ayuk highest. I actually think I have Greg Ward highest in the rankings now. But this is the classic, like, you pick the name out of a hat, you kind of see what happens. Like, this is the most ceiling, I guess, is Ayuk. If I have someone like going to hit a big play, maybe. But I mean, Renfrow and Ward, you really like the floors.
Quick comment here, Hayden. With Deebo Samuel back in the fold, we don't know how much he's going to play today. I think some people might worry that, well, should I even play Brandon Ayuk because Deebo was back? I would say don't worry about it. In fact, it might even help Brandon Ayuk because there's a reason why this team was so comfortable taking Brandon Ayuk in round 1 after already having Deebo on the roster. It's because they envision that them being their wide receiver duo, and good things happen in a Kyle Shanahan offense because of that.
I have Greg Ward highest here. I posted a tweet about Greg Ward. First of all, the 49ers are missing like 3 or 4 corners on top of all of the Eagles. It is a perfect matchup for Greg Ward outside of just a total play volume. And a beat reporter commented that, I didn't tag him or anything, and said that Greg Ward is getting at least 8 targets today. So I think that Greg Ward is a really decent wide receiver 3 fill-in, a flex guy for this week.
Absolutely.
All right, next one. Kevin Mendoza. We had Irvin Mendoza. Now we're going for Kevin Mendoza, probably in the same league here. T.Y. Hilton, Cole Beasley, John Brown, or Deebo Samuel in full point PPR. Pat, we've been waiting on a T.Y. Hilton breakout. I mean, it didn't happen with Paris Campbell. It didn't happen with Michael Pittman out there. It's got to happen at some point, right? Is it going to happen against the Bears?
Yes, until he won't rest till every other Colts receiver is injured and he has all the targets to himself. Today it's a tough defense, but to me, that's actually good for T.Y. Hilton. The Colts will actually have to play in a competitive football game, and maybe he'll get more than like 3 or 4 targets. So T.Y. Hilton, despite the huge disappointment, his perception, he's 1 or 2 drops away from a much different perception to begin with for the season. Despite the early disappointment, he's still the easy call for me there.
Okay, we will move on. Let's go to Travis Cord. Half point PPR, Ronald Jones, Justin Jefferson, AJ Green. So sit one of these, Daigle. I kind of feel like that Ronald Jones is a must start now with Leonard Fournette missing this game against the Chargers.
I do agree. Game script sets up terrifically with the Chargers missing their 2 starting and 1 backup right guard and right tackle today. So we expect the Bucs defense to eat and then lean on Ronald Jones. I'm actually sitting Justin Jefferson, oddly enough. I like Jefferson a lot, but that environment for Bengals Jacksonville is sneakily going under the radar as one that will likely shoot out. So I want Green, the higher floor, over Jefferson just this week.
Let me ask you this question, though, Daigle. I understand that you think that Jaguars-Bengals game is going to be a sneaky shootout, but that's a 49.5 total. Meanwhile, the Vikings-Texans game is already predicted to be a shootout with 53.5.
Correct. And so my thing is when totals go over, by the way, they typically average, I believe historically the past year is 10 points over the total. So I'm expecting 54, 55 from that game. Also, remember, the Vikings are leaning on efficiency. They have not passed the ball yet. Kirk Cousins over 27 times in any contest, whereas Joe Burrow's averaging 46 attempts per game.
Hey, now you still on the AJ Green train?
To what extent? I kind of am. Like he's still like a wide receiver, like flex wide receiver 4. I guess. I think that with the COVID stuff going on right now, I think that you could plug him as a flex play. I think wide receiver Justin Jefferson is still more of a wide receiver 5, an upside wide receiver 5, but I cannot bank on his target volume right now.
Okay, well, I'm trying to buy some time here and look at our start sit tool. So Pat, why don't you take this one as one last comment while I bring that up?
Yeah, I was just to say the fear for Justin Jefferson today is that so we had 2 Vikings blowups last week, and you were facing the other one was Dalvin Cook, and we're facing the Texans, who have like maybe the worst run defense in the league, and the Vikings are going to be so excited about Dalvin Cook getting established last week that if we're going to chase point, obviously you're never chasing points with Dalvin Cook, but in terms of a repeat performance, much higher odds for Dalvin Cook than Justin Jefferson. Jefferson could be like the classic immediate, like 3 catches for 27 yards. Like, why did I force this guy into my lineup type of play today?
Well, our tool says let's go with AJ Green. So I think we're all in unison. After that entire spiel, it's AJ Green. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go to this next one. Marvin Jones or T. Higgins in full point flex, a full point PPR from the Hibachi on YouTube. T. Higgins, Hayden, we talked about it on the preview show. He might even be the number 2 target on the Bengals right now.
It's possible. I think that Marvin Jones, you have to go back to the well. I think that this game with the Saints missing 2 corners and an edge rusher, I think that the Lions have a decent chance about getting back on track offensively, pushing the ball downfield, something that they haven't been doing this year, specifically with Marvin Jones, whose ADOT is below 7. I think that there's some chances for big plays, and I would rather have Marvin Jones more of a sure thing than T. Higgins. I think that T. Higgins is an awesome bench hold, though.
Marvin Jones hasn't run a route on fewer than 97% of Stafford's dropbacks in any game this year, including when Kenny Golladay came back. It's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation with Darrell Bevel right now, who leaned on Adrian Peterson last week as opposed to going deep with Stafford. But I'm still going back to Marvin Jones one more time, given New Orleans cornerback situation.
Pat, I'm looking at your rankings right now. You have Marvin Jones as wide receiver 40. You have T. Higgins as wide receiver 48. So I think you're in agreement here that Marvin Jones is the play.
Yeah, I was just going to say with T. Higgins, you're basically hoping for a Marvin Jones game. So, and Marvin Jones, off to the very slow start. It is weird because I think you have to throw the 2 Golladay games out, kind of like throw those out of Marvin Jones's game splits. But yeah, I'm more comfortable, even though I don't love Marv's upside. Or I guess I like his upside. I don't love his floor. Marv over T today.
All right, we'll keep it moving. Again, continue to get your questions in. We're going to answer a ton of them as we go on. JoJo asks Mike Evans or Tyler Boyd. I mean, Mike Evans is the real wide receiver 1 in the Bucs. We know there's some miscommunication there in week 1. Daigle, I think from a box score standpoint, people have thought that Tom Brady hasn't been a great fit on this Bucs offense so far. I bet they regret saying that after this week, because I think that this is going to be the time where, those 1 or 2 or 3 plays that they just miss out on, or the wide receiver drops it, or it's a miscommunication, start hitting as we go further on into the season.
To be fair, I do like Tyler Boyd a lot, but it is still Mike Evans. I hope that's not me just being behind in week 4 and not adjusting properly. If we don't get like 100 yards and a touchdown out of Evans, then perhaps we adjust next week.
Mike Evans is the Bucs goal line back. You go with Mike Evans.
All right, we keep it moving. Quarterback questions. We always love quarterback questions because they win you your week. Tyler Melito, Hayden, to you. Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson?
Not a bad problem to have. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I think that his ceiling is higher, and I think he has a rushing floor. The Vikings can't stop anybody right now. Their corners are not only bad, and they left this offseason, they're also injured. So I think that Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, get him in your lineups.
Also, what a genius. I mean, Bill O'Brien is to be like, no, Tim Kelly, you get the play calling against the Chiefs, against the Ravens, against the Steelers. But as soon as we have a chance against the Minnesota Vikings, guess who's going to take responsibility? Guess who's going to claim the success of Deshaun Watson here in week 4? Yes, it's the guy who plays the game more than anyone in the NFL. It's Bill O'Brien. Low-key genius. We should all, instead of, ragging on him a little bit, we should all just accept that, man, the guy can play the game. All right.
Well, unless it doesn't happen today, then that team is in trouble if that team doesn't score 28 points today.
It's
Jack Easterby, week 5 play caller.
just clapping all the time, like Jason Garrett all over again. Okay, Rick Brown, to you, Daigle. DJ Moore or Will Fuller in standard?
It's still DJ Moore for me. The targets are there. The issue is the touchdowns have not been, and I think that's something we can count on in this game in an up-tempo matchup against a Cardinals defense that is missing 3 starters, I believe, and actually playing the rookie Isaiah Simmons at safety. So I like DJ's Moore spot a lot today.
Yeah, Hayden, I know your model your fantasy usage model, which everyone should check out on Rotoworld on Monday nights, I guess it is, believes DJ Moore is locked in as the wide receiver 1 for the Panthers, even if the box scores might not indicate it.
Yeah, second in the NFL in air yards. Better weeks are coming. Last week, we can just chalk that up to bad game script after the Panthers jumped out to a lead. That's not going to happen too much this year. I think DJ Moore might be more of a high-end wide receiver 2 than a locked-in wide receiver 1, but that keeps him in starting lineups for sure.
All right, we keep it moving. Pat, here's a little bit more of a difficult one. We know that Kareem Hunt has missed some time in practice this week. Are you still going to start him? Pick 2 of these from ZDS, Jeff Wilson, Kareem Hunt, or TJ Hawkinson. A lot of cross-positional work here.
Yeah, I know this is kind of one of those tough ones. Hunt, I'm keeping locked in. The scuttlebutt, the injury is not serious. Yeah, in theory, I usually go with the touches, but I mean, Jeff Wilson, 14 carries, 12 yards. Hopefully a little more efficiency this week, Jeff. And TJ Hawkinson, I mean, against the Saints defense, I mean, last week, like if you were a Packers tight end, like basically you scored a touchdown. And TJ Hawkinson so far, despite still a kind of frustrating usage, has been like 450, like every week, 4 catches, 50 yards. And this is a matchup today. Maybe he'll finally get a ceiling game. And I'd rather basically bet on a blowout from TJ Hawkinson than like a plunge from Jeff Wilson.
Behind the box score, Hawkinson actually ran a season high in routes last week. His usage was the best behind the curtains that's been all year. So I don't want to say it's TJ Hawkinson week because I declared Deshaun Jackson week last week, and we saw how that fell on its face. But I love Hawkinson today.
Daigle, back to you. Since you write the waiver column, which everyone can check out on Tuesday around lunchtime, plus our podcast on Tuesday mornings. Sire 5-2, Myles Gaskin or Jarvis Landry. I know a lot of people, even our old friend Ian Harditz, had his little chopper prop today that it was Jarvis Landry the call out, but it's been tough to believe in Jarvis Landry so far this season. I know the total between the Browns and the Cowboys is 56.5. And if the Browns are going to reach and that total is going to hit 56.5, maybe 2 wide receivers do have to get involved.
It's Jarvis Landry. God, I would like to start Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin had 5 targets last week, a 25% target share, whereas we haven't seen that yet from Jarvis Landry all year. The hope is in a game total that is 55 right now, Baker Mayfield, unlike the past 2 weeks, actually throws more than 23 attempts. So I am leaning Jarvis Landry. I do understand, though, if someone would go Gaskin in this instance.
I thought you were saying for the waiver wire column because Jarvis Landry could be on the drop list of that if he doesn't have a big game here. The target share is concerning, and same thing with his hip injury. I think I might lean Myles Gaskin here, but of course, Jarvis Landry, this is the perfect game environment to get right on the back or get back on the right track. So I can understand either way.
Yeah, just Stefanski so far hasn't shown a willingness to get, or a want to is probably the right way of saying it, to get 2 wide receivers involved. But these are the 2 highest totals of the weekend, 56.5 for Dallas and Cleveland and 55.5 for Seattle and Miami, at least unless I'm forgetting one along the way. All right, let's keep it going, Pat. This one to you. Your boy, Devin Singletary, and back to Kareem Hunt in the flex. Singletary, we know, saw major work last week without Zach Moss in the fold, but we should see him, hand over a little bit more work with Zach Moss returning against the Las Vegas Raiders today.
This is a really tough one. Devin Singletary all week. I couldn't quite figure out where to put him in the rankings because week 2, I mean, he didn't put separation between himself and Zach Moss, but basically he had the rates I wanted to see except for goal line touches, which belonged to Zach Moss. But now after Moss missed the game, I think Moss will be less involved today than he was in weeks 1 and 2. I don't know what I'm banking on, like him being like slowly reintegrated back into the offense, even though he only missed 1 game. I really like Devin Singletary's touch outlook today, even if Zach Moss is a gnat. I think he can still get 18 to 20 touches. I only have Kareem Hunt 1 spot behind him, so I think the Browns are going like full 1980s, like Big 8 football, 2 running backs every week, no matter what, no matter the game script. But I don't know. For some reason, I couldn't decide where to put Devin Singletary all week, and where I did put him is 1 spot ahead of Kareem Hunt.
Well, Hayden, I don't know what he looks like in your usage model, but I think Devin Singletary from the eye test perspective has looked great. The only issue is that Josh Allen, once again, is like holding on to that near the goal line work.
Yeah, a lot of his touches are low value touches because they happen between the 20s and not near the goal line. But if you want a pure take from me, I don't think Zach Moss looks very good, and I think Devin Singletary does. So I wouldn't be surprised if Devin Singletary handles 60-70% of the team touches, if not more than that, just because they look totally different players.
I think Hayden just put into words what I was trying to say, because that is how I feel too. But then Hayden actually used the words and said it.
It's word selection is most likely the better way of saying that too. Okay, XC Mercy, back to you, Pat. Pick one, just one. Mike Davis, Montgomery? David Montgomery. For some reason in my head, I was thinking Ty Montgomery.
You already forgot the Bears offensive players.
David Montgomery, Todd Gurley, and Adam Thielen. Ooh, that's a tough one because, Pat, we've seen Mike Davis get 8+ catches in each of his, basically 2 starts. But it's tough to sit someone like Adam Thielen, and we know the floor and touches that Todd Gurley gets, even though he's not doing anything with them, really.
I just was not sold on Adam Thielen coming into the season. I'm sold on the role, but I just don't know if I'm sold on Adam Thielen physically anymore. I just don't know if he's looked like a diminished player to me since the second half of the 2018 season. So I still have him ranked as like a top 16, 18 receiver, but Mike Davis has basically been, at least for 1 week, the 1-for-1 Christian McCaffrey replacement we were looking for. And I basically cannot bench that. And I will start Mike Davis over Adam Thielen.
Hayden, all these guys seem to have pretty good matchups, though. I mean, Mike Davis against the Arizona Cardinals is not something we want to fear. Adam Thielen going against the Houston Texans. Again, we talked about that total at 53.5. This is a lot of good options here.
Yeah, and I have David Montgomery. I set him up. I think he's like my 16th or 17th ranked running back just because there's no Tariq Cohen. He might see some more passing game work, and there's a lot of wind in Chicago. Make sure you go check the latest reports on that. I think there's like 20+ mile an hour wind, so that could set up David Montgomery for even more work. I think the answer is probably Mike Davis still, but I think Todd Gurley's for sure out of the picture out of this group.
All right, let's go to the Overlord since he joins us often. Daigle, and he says start 3, but really this should say sit 1. Okay, so I'm going to help you out here. Sit one of these names in full point PPR: Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, and James Robinson. To me, I do not think that you can bench Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, or James Robinson right now.
That is fair. I think Joe Mixon and James Robinson is closer than we make it sound. Having said that, James Robinson's floor is safe, whereas Joe Mixon, who suffered an injury in practice and is cleared for this game, it's slightly concerning because we don't know the situation. And also, he hasn't been used in the role we would like him to be used in. So I think James Robinson's the much safer play. Yeah, I'm going James Robinson over Mixon.
Hayden, doesn't this really come down to which offense you trust more in that game, Jacksonville's or Cincinnati's?
Yes, it does. And I do think that the game script is setting up for Joe Mixon to have a good week just because they're favorites, and his usage when the Bengals are leading is way higher than when it's trailing. I feel like I still want to go Joe Mixon. I mean, you drafted him so much higher, and I know you were clinging to our priors and it has not really worked out yet, but I think both of them are top 12 plays. Yeah, honestly.
Once again, this is Rotoworld Live. It is served by Applebee's. We've got another 20+ minutes to go, helping you out set your optimal lineups. Can continue to leave your questions in the comments. I also want to say, if you want to go use our Start Sit tool, or if you want to look at the live odds or any of our other tools on our premium products, go over to rotoworld.com/edge and use promo code FBPOD10 to get $10 off. Again, it's $4 a month, the price of freaking guacamole. So why not go do that right now? All right, Pat, heading on over to you. Pick one of these. Some really good names here from Pedro. Kenny Golladay, Terry McLaurin, or DJ Chark.
I'm going Kenny G, who avoided setbacks in his return last week. Now he got the Saints defense that's epically banged up. Hopefully going to finally see kind of the Lions passing attack that, we weren't all in agreement on much over the summer, but I know John, Hayden, and I were all like super enthused about the Lions. And I think we might finally get like the real Lions today. And to me, Kenny's back in the top 8 this week, and McLaurin, a little injury uncertainty. DJ Chark, like everything uncertainty. So as much as I hate benching Terry McLaurin, I would go Kenny Golladay, kind of without thinking twice.
Yeah, Hayden, I think we can eliminate DJ Chark from this conversation, not because he's a bad player, just because it hasn't worked out so far this year, and the other two options are good. I want to put myself in the viewer's shoes here and say, okay, we look at Washington. They are 14-point home underdogs today. What's your confidence level in even starting someone like Terry McLaurin, who there's plenty of talk, and even more, it seems like each day, of his starting quarterback getting benched, which actually might end up helping him?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter too much either way. The backup options aren't good either. I think that there's reason to believe Dwayne Haskins can improve a little bit. I mean, no quarterback has a sub 50 catchable ball rate for an entire season. That just does not happen. So I think that there is room for improvement for not only Terry McLaurin, but dare I say it, Logan Thomas as a low end tight end one. If you look at the tight end landscape, that sounds crazy to say Logan Thomas is a low end tight end one. Who else are you starting though? It is pretty bleak out there. Especially given some of the matchups this week and some of the injuries. So I think that both of those guys are fringe starters still.
Go ahead.
I'm more concerned about McLaurin not practicing on Friday and now playing in this awful game script. I would actually go Shark over McLaurin.
Interesting. We talked about it a lot heading into the season, how one, this Washington team are fans of Kyle Allen, but two, Kyle Allen supported DJ Moore last year. He supported Christian McCaffrey. He supported Ian Thomas / Greg Olsen when they were in the game. So, pivoting to him in this game or this season, I don't think is even going to hurt Logan Thomas or Terry McLaurin. In fact, it might help them moving forward. All right, Daigle, I wanted to save this one for you because of what we talked about on the Rotoworld Football podcast on Friday's preview episode. Go and download that because we'll have a full game-by-game recap in the morning in time for, I guess, your commute or just your coffee. Tanuki himself asks, Ryan Fitzpatrick or Matthew Stafford? Daigle, where are you leaning?
It is Fitzpatrick for me. He is the premier streamer this week and a QB1, in my opinion, that since the Seahawks have allowed the most passing yards and the most receiving yards to opposing wide receivers, it's just a very good game environment for everyone involved.
Pat, sticking with that Seattle game, we know that Chris Carson got his knee twisted. He is active. He is going to play against Miami again at 55 total. And the Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites. Or you're going to just go to the safe option with Todd Gurley here. And it is full point PPR, which does not help Todd Gurley because he's not catching any passes in that Falcons offense right now.
He's not. And Chris Carson is kind of supposedly the pass catcher now. This is a real tough one. I mean, real high scoring environments in both games. Oh my gosh! I mean, my rankings actually say Todd Gurley, and then when I just saw that, I'm like, just why?
Does it help that Carlos Hyde is inactive?
It did. I don't. Someone else. I don't even want to answer the question.
Chris Carson.
Chris Carson. It's not close.
Chris Carson.
It's definitely close because Chris Carson.
It's
I mean, it's coming up. Chris Carson, the beginning of the week, we didn't think was going to play, and now I think maybe Carlos Hyde's injury kind of forced their hand a little bit with Chris Carson. So there's and we had these really high shootout games, some strange touch uncertainty too with Chris Carson. I mean, Todd Gurley, the workload is probably actually still more guaranteed than it is for Chris Carson. So it is muddled enough for me that I honestly don't know, but I'm glad that you guys do. And the viewer should start Chris Carson.
All right. We keep it moving. This one is over to you, Hayden. I don't know if you want to start any of these guys from No ZD. Zach Moss, Mark Ingram, or Nyheim Hines. It is so difficult. It's so crazy to say this. It's so difficult to start Mark Ingram, even with the Ravens 14-point favorites here.
My answer would be Nyheim Hines, and I'm not very confident in that answer. But like we mentioned, this game, we just might see the Colts actually have to use their best players because they're not expected to be winning by 18 points. Definitely not Zach Moss coming off an injury. I don't think that he looks good. I also don't think that Mark Ingram looks the best out of his backfield. In fact, I think that Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins look better than Mark Ingram right now. I would go with Nyheim Hines. None of them are great options, though.
All right, Dagsy. Quarterback question from Heartless. Drew Brees or Jared Goff? Jared Goff going against this awful New York Giants team as 13.5-point home favorites. I mean, if there is ever a formula that fits to start a quarterback, it is start Jared Goff this week.
I'm going Drew Brees.
Me too.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good formula for Jared Goff. Actually, it'll be fine. It's going to be an easy game, but that leads us to believe it's Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown, not Jared Goff. Yeah. So I think the Lions hang with the Saints. I love Drew Brees today. Actually,
I'm with you, Josh. I think that the Giants are missing Jabril Peppers on top of already being one of the worst teams in the league. I think Jared Goff can get there on 25 pass attempts. And I'm still just willing to bet against Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think if a team, again, I can pull up the live.
Drew Brees, despite spectacularly failing the eye test, has still been getting kind of the overall volume and even almost efficiency number. He's averaging over 8 yards per attempt still the past 2. I disagree with John. I don't think there's going to be enough volume. I mean, Hayden, you're right. It could happen in only 25 attempts, but the Rams are doing a lot to limit Jared Goff's volume. And I just think it sets up way too well for the Rams running game today to get Jared over Drew Brees, who might have to throw 40 times.
I mean, I just whenever I look at this and I see a quarterback at home expected to score 13.5 more than his opponent, that just to me adds up as they're going to score a lot of points. They're going to win, and points comes and equals fantasy points, right? And so, like, I don't know. I mean, just with the Saints and the Lions, I understand that it's supposed to be closer and the total is just a little bit higher, but from a team total perspective, the Rams is still higher than either of them. So, anyways, we can move on. It'll be interesting to watch.
It's a close one.
Yeah, I'll think about that one the rest of the week. Okay, let's keep it going here. Austin Eckler or Jonathan Taylor? A super difficult one with Bobby Baker. Hayden, this one's yours.
For me, it's Jonathan Taylor. The matchup is not great for Jonathan Taylor, but it's not the stone cold worst matchup for Austin Eckler. And that team total, I think, is dropping even more. I think it might be the lowest team total of the week, and I think rightfully so with all the offensive line injuries for the Chargers. I want Jonathan Taylor. I think that his usage is just as good, basically, as any other top 5, top 7 fantasy running back. We just didn't see it last week because game script got completely out of control. I think Jonathan Taylor is a rock solid RB1.
Yep, I agree. All right, Daigle, Michael Gallup or Sammy Watkins? This has one tier of the Kansas City offense that depends on how you're going to handle that. But then also Michael Gallup, it's not like he's been the most dependable player, even though there's always the spike week potential and just really good football player potential from him as well.
It is definitely Michael Gallup for me, and it's not close.
Yep.
Even if the Chiefs were guaranteed to play, and they are not, although I believe they will. It's still Michael Gallup for me. We finally got what we expected last week from him, just stacking up air yards and finally delivering in that game. And it should be still a somewhat good game environment if the Cowboys hang around and pass block well. So I'm starting Michael Gallup.
Well, let me make it more difficult on you then. From Pineapples, Michael Gallup or Odell Beckham?
That is more difficult. I am leaning Beckham, who is sort of in the same spot Gallup was in, as getting downfield shots but not delivering just yet. His high being, that 76-yard game and a touchdown. If this game is competitive, it would be Beckham who likely outscores Gallup. So I am definitely going Gallup in this case. I'm definitely going Beckham in this case.
There we go. Pat, another Adam Thielen question because I know you love those. Adam Thielen or MVS?
I mean, even if I thought Adam Thielen was like literally on his last legs, I would have started over MVS. So, I mean, his ceiling potential is enhanced now with Mr. Lazard, unfortunately, out. But this one's not a tough one.
All right. Afro Angel, to you, Hayden. Sit one of these. Hunter Renfrow, Zach Pascal, or Preston Williams, full point PPR. I know that Daigle and Pat are really in on this Miami Dolphins team this weekend. Is it enough to start him over the likes of slot receiver Hunter Renfrow and second wide receiver Zach Pascal?
I think that Hunter Renfrow should be projected for more targets than Zach Pascal. So I'm going Hunter Renfrow, and then I want to chase the upside of a Preston Williams, who has been facing the Patriots, the Bills, and then just got out to a big lead last week. Better days are coming for Preston Williams, who I thought was really good last year. I want to start Hunter Renfrow for the floor and then Preston Williams for the ceiling.
He's been playing the toughest cornerbacks often, Preston Williams has, and he's still second on the team with 3 red zone targets and 3 end zone targets. I'm definitely going back to Preston Williams this week.
And he was still being eased into the lineup too. And now he's had 10 days to heal up he gets I think the Seahawks up to 3,000 yards allowed to wide receivers alone. So you got to do it.
Sit one of these, Daigle. Devin Singletary, Keenan Allen, or Ronald Jones. And I would say it's between Devin Singletary and Ronald Jones. And I would say sit Devin Singletary.
Agreed. I am sitting Devin Singletary since Zach Moss is presumably back. And remember, Keenan Allen has led the league in target share 36% the past 2 games with Justin Herbert under center. And they will likely be throwing a lot against the Bucs.
Okay.
I'm mentioning Rojo. I mean, even without Leonard Fournette, there's still like the opportunity for like Rojo drama. Like just because Leonard Fournette's not playing doesn't mean like all of a sudden like they're going to give him the ball. No matter if he has like one of his early gaffes, he could easily.
So you're projecting a big week for LaShawn McCoy is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Undead zombie LaShawn McCoy.
Tanuki, I'll answer this question really quick. It's Hunter Henry over Mo Ali Cox. At least that's my opinion. Maybe
even though we like Mo Ali, but yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Okay, Hayden, Logan Thomas or Dalton Schultz?
I'm going to go with Logan Thomas. I think that there's more projected volume for him. Dalton Schultz could definitely get there on less volume, or if the Cowboys like find themselves passing the ball for like 50 times like they have in previous weeks. I don't think that's going to happen quite as much. And I think that he's the clear-cut fourth or actually fifth option with Zeke Elliott also getting targeted a lot. So I'll go Logan Thomas. Wish me luck. I
do wish you luck. Let's keep it moving. Here's a difficult one for you, Daigle. Pick 2 in full point PPR because you have T.Y. Hilton, who hasn't hit yet. You have Antonio Gibson, who's not getting a full workload. You have Traquan Smith with Michael Thomas out. And then you have Julian Edelman in a game that might not be played this week.
And Julian Edelman with Brian Hoyer if it does play. So that we are eliminating Julian Edelman. I'm actually going T.Y. Hilton, and fingers crossed that game is somewhat competitive. Otherwise, he'll be benched for the fourth quarter like he has been the past 2 weeks.
One more. It's 2.
Edelman.
Oh.
I also go Edelman.
I say Gibson. Even with the J.D. McKissick season, Gibson is still, I think, just incrementally each week showing enough improvement. Despite he lost a fumble last week, didn't he? I mean, that was kind of bad. But
Kyle Allen potentially being under center in the second half is good for Antonio Gibson because we know Allen's not going 5 yards deep beyond the line of scrimmage.
Sit one of these names, Pat. Chris Carson, Devontae Parker, or DJ Moore. I don't think you can sit DJ Moore. Based on your comments on the podcast on Friday, I don't think you can sit Devontae Parker, but can you really sit Chris Carson either?
Man, I mean, you can't sit any of these guys. Boy, I will. No format here. Come on, help us out, Antolin.
It's half PPR, so that doesn't help you at all.
Here we go. Like on the hot seat here, I'm just gonna say I can't bench Devontae Parker against the secondary today in this scoring environment. Even if Chris Carson has the better touchdown odds, I just think Devontae Parker's ceiling odds are so much better. I can't bench him in this environment.
Hayden, help us out.
I think that's probably my answer as well. Just because Chris Carson has some re-injury risk that Devontae Parker doesn't have currently, so I would go those two.
For the record, I'm starting Chris Carson and DJ Moore of that. I love that you guys have the confidence in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just hate betting on bad teams. I just hate it.
It is tough. I only have him as like the QB 14 this week, by the way, which is still very high for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I didn't jam him into the top 12.
Daigle, I know your bias is going to show here, but Jerick McKinnon or Darrell Henderson?
It's not a bias when a running back is a 13-point home favorite over the second worst team in the entire league. It's Darrell Henderson. He handled 21 of the team's 27 running back touches last week, despite splitting snaps with Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown was actually out there running routes, but that was when the game was already out of hand. I like this. I like Darrell Henderson a lot as a fringe RB1 today.
Hayden, loaded question from Brody. Sit one of these in full point PPR. CEH, who we expect to play this week, but who knows with that game. Then you have Kenyon Drake, who just hasn't done it in this Arizona Cardinals backfield yet. David Johnson, who is in spots and maybe gets his most favorable matchup against the Minnesota Vikings with a 53.5 total, or Jonathan Taylor, who is a must start in this format.
Jonathan Taylor's in the lineup. Kenyon Drake, I think, is in the lineup, and I would roll the dice with CEH over David Johnson. It looks like it's a bad matchup for CEH because they're playing the Patriots, and it still could be. But what we've seen Belichick do against Mahomes is try to keep everything in front of them, and that's included 9 targets, 10 targets, and 10 targets to running backs. This could be a game where Belichick makes CEH beat them, and CEH is definitely good enough to make them win.
Daigle, here's an interesting question for you, because on paper, I think Hollywood Brown is the much better player and typically a much better play. But with how that game is looking, now it's 14 points for the Ravens. Are you going to play him in a positive game script situation, or Myles Gaskin, who will get more volume and more opportunity?
Gaskin will get more volume, but I still want to be on the ceiling of Brown today. It's just Monday's performance that turns us off from the Ravens as a whole. That's why Lamar Jackson's one of the best DFS plays the entire week because no one's going to roster him. It's a Hollywood Brown who has yet to explode this year, actually, is in a terrific position against a banged-up Washington secondary in a miserable spot. So I love Lamar and Hollywood Brown a lot today.
Pat, let's get Jordan to win his week. Pick one of these for the flex and half-point PPR. Nyheim Hines, Joshua Kelly, wait on Sammy Watkins, or chase what Justin Jefferson did last week.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I'm still feeling Joshua Kelly. I don't know why. Because I know the carries were dialed back last week. I know it's a brutal matchup. A Bucs team that we still call them pass funnel. I mean, they're really good at defending the pass, too. But I'm just most confident in Joshua Kelly's touches there. Nyheim Hines, just don't. We've gotten like basically 3 different weeks out of Nyheim Hines, like this completely random usage week to week. Or I think Joshua Kelly's role is a little more locked in.
Hayden, I'm going Justin Jefferson. Tell me why I'm wrong.
For me, it's between Justin Jefferson and Sammy Watkins. If you really want to play it safe, I would probably go Justin Jefferson. I'm definitely still worried about Joshua Kelly in bad game script.
Yeah,
that would be my biggest concern.
Oh yeah. It happened last week. A competitive game, and Joshua Kelly was taken off the field.
The thing is, I don't think the Bucs are gonna like blow the doors off the Chargers. I mean, I think the Bucs will win. They'll probably cover, but I mean, this isn't gonna be a game where the Bucs are up like 14 or 17 points in the second quarter, and the Chargers still are gonna, even with Austin Eckler handling pretty nice carry total. I think Joshua Kelly gets 10 carries is basically why I'm doing this.
My answer is Justin Jefferson, though. I think Justin Jefferson's the better play over Watkins anyways, but the added fact of a potential postponement just makes it that much easier.
All right, Hayden, Mike Davis or Odell Beckham Jr.? Who would have expected 5 weeks ago we asked this question?
Because he's the better player, Mike Davis. No,
yeah.
it's definitely Mike Davis.
No, you're right.
Yeah, especially if this is a PPR format. I love OBJ as like a low end, like wide receiver 2 with plenty of upside and a good matchup. But Mike Davis is just getting all the work right now.
Mike Davis started at the beginning of these, by the way. The John is Mike Davis's agent.
That's why he's wearing the blazer over there
for a long time.
Mike Davis has started 1 game this year, and he has more catches than Beckham. Like, of course, he's the better player. Of course, he's the better play. I'm sorry, not the better player. The better play. Although he is a very good player as well.
Not every catch and not every target is equal, but he does have 16 receptions over the last 2 weeks. Mike Davis does, which is just ludicrous. And if it's a PPR format, then definitely Mike Davis here. He's
currently the face of the running backs don't matter movement.
Well, okay, Denny Carter. Okay, let's keep it moving. Nathan Ramthan, Kenny Galladay, or Nick Chubb. Full PPR, Pat.
Ooh. Oh my God, this is like a brain melter. Honestly, I'm still going Nick Chubb. We have we have game script fears always with the Browns. We had the 10 carry week 1 where he still averaged 6 yards per carry. I just think, the Browns are so all in on the run. Even if they somehow got down by 2 touchdowns in the first half, which I don't think they will, I just cannot bench Nick Chubb at this point. I mean, I can't bench Kenny Galladay either, though. But Nick Chubb, 0 catches probably coming in the full PPR. Nick Chubb is just too good of a football player for me to bench him.
Chubb has actually run more routes than Kareem Hunt. He's just not getting targeted on his routes.
I like the stat.
I like the spot a lot for Nick Chubb today.
I do too. I mean, if Kevin Stefanski, if we know him at all, he just loves to run the football. We know Dallas has struggled interior. We know Dallas has struggled at linebacker with Leighton Vander Esch and Sean Lee out. So I think this absolutely lines up, despite the 3.5 points that the Browns need, that they're dogs of, that Nick Chubb should have a day. All right, Hayden. Lobs to 506. Pick one for standard. Standard. Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, or Greg Ward. I'm going Terry.
No brainer, Terry.
I think I'm going Terry McLaurin. I don't want to say too many bad things about Greg Ward, though. For sure, no Antonio Gibson here. We still have the full workload. He still is struggling with his vision. He's more of a wide receiver to me than a running back. I think he can end up getting there, but I would definitely go scary Terry. Greg Ward, you can start him as a wide receiver 3 flex, though, if others are making that decision.
All right, Pat, we're going to close it out in this one. Drew Thomas, sit 1. Chris Carson, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery.
I feel like we've answered this one 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't think we have specifically this one.
Right.
Honestly, I'm benching Chris Carson. I just have too much, even in the shootout, even with I think the over-under is up to seriously 70 now. I think it's 56. Chris Carson, Hayden said it too, re-injury risk. He was injury prone, he's one of the most rugged, most injury prone players in the league, the way he runs. He's playing hurt. Again, the early week buzz was he wasn't going to play. I just have more faith in Devin Singletary and David Montgomery's workloads than I do Chris Carson.
I lied. We're going to hit one more. Daigle to you. Tim Rowland. Pick 2. Marquise Brown, Golden Tate, T.Y. Hilton, MVS, or Latavius Murray. Let's eliminate MVS and Latavius Murray, correct? Maybe? Correct. I'm going Marquise Brown and T.Y. Hilton and walking away.
Golden Tate, it's I shouldn't even rank him anymore. Talk about the emptiest calories on the planet.
Plug in Marquise Brown and T.Y. Hilton and walk away. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree. Valdez-Scantling in a better spot now that Allen Lazard has been moved to injured reserve, but still, it's got to be T.Y. Hilton, and you just hope he's playing the whole game.
I mean, it's got to happen at some point, right? I mean, it's got to happen.
I mean, it's Nick Foles, buddy. Like, I don't know if it happens today. That's the thing.
All right. That is going to do it for us. Anyways, you all can, if you have more start-sit questions, again, I would go and check out Pat's rankings. They're up on the site right now. I would also say that you can go over to our season-long tools. That's rotoworld.com/edge. Enter promo code FBPod10. Start-sit tool right there. Click that into the two names, and boom, it pops up for you. We'll be back tonight, late/tomorrow morning, game-by-game recap pod. We know you can't watch every single game. So we'll be there with the blurbers who cover them to go through the details and the things that you missed. And then Tuesday morning for the waiver column as well. Once again, this has been Rotoworld Live, served by Applebee's. For Daigle, for Hayden, for Pat, I am Josh. Good luck in your week 4. Talk to you all soon. See ya.